The lights on the military spaceship Argon 7 flickered for a second. Then everything went dark. Engineer Eli Parker dropped his tools as the emergency red lights blinked on. A low alarm buzzed through the hallway. He stood up, confused and alert. This kind of power failure should never happen, especially not in deep space. What the hell? Eli muttered, wiping grease off his hands. He was alone in the maintenance bay, fixing a small coolant pipe when the power went out. He grabbed his toolkit and ran toward the backup generator room. If the emergency systems failed, the ship would lose oxygen, gravity, and maybe worse. As he reached the door to the generator room, it slid open. He stepped inside and froze. Someone was already there. A tall, blue-skinned figure with long arms and glowing eyes stood in front of the generator panel. It was Rolzek, an alien engineer from the planet Cygna 4. He turned slowly, his 4 fingers holding a glowing power cell. "You," Eli said, surprised and annoyed. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same," Raul replied, in a calm but cold voice. His accent was sharp. "I came to fix the power. I'm the human engineer. That's my job." And yet, the ship is still dark. They stared at each other in silence. There was tension in the room. Eli never liked aliens, not Raul. Raul always acted like he was smarter, calmer, better. And now here they were, stuck together in an emergency. Suddenly, the intercom crackled. "All crew. Due to the power outage, some sleeping quarters are now offline. All engineers must share available rooms until systems are stable." Eli's eyes widened. No way. Not with him." "Agreed," Raul said. The voice continued. "Eli Parker and Rolzek temporary roommates. Room 17B. Bed sharing. Required." The intercom went silent. Both engineers stared at the ceiling, then at each other. "This is a joke," Eli said. "I do not joke," Raul replied. Then picked up his tools and walked past Eli, heading toward the room. Room 17B was small, cold, and dim. One bed, one small table, one blanket. Eli threw his bag onto the floor and sat on the bed. Raul stood near the door, arms crossed. "I'll take the floor," Eli grumbled. "I have no problem with the bed," Raul said, and sat on the other side, his glowing eyes watching Eli. They said nothing for a while. Outside, the ship creaked. "Why did the power go out?" Eli finally asked. Raul didn't answer right away. Then he said, "The reactor is fine. But someone tampered with the distribution system." "You mean sabotage?" "Yes, and it wasn't me." Eli frowned. "Who would do that? We're in deep space. There's no one out here." Raul looked toward the door. "Not no one. What does that mean?" Eli asked. Raul didn't answer. He reached under the bed and slid a small metal box closer to himself. Eli caught a glimpse of something glowing inside before Raul shut it tight. "What's that?" "Nothing you need to know," Raul said. Eli stood up. "If you're hiding something on this ship, I have a right to know." "We're crew." "You are crew," Raul said. "I am just a guest." There was something in his voice. Sadness. Fear. Then a loud banging noise echoed through the hallway outside their room. Both men jumped. Eli ran to the door and opened it slightly. The hallway was empty, but the red lights were still flickering. The banging sound came again. Slower now. From the left side of the ship, like someone or something was moving in the vents. Eli shut the door and locked it. "What the hell was that?" Raul stood up. His body was tense. "I think we are not alone." Eli looked at him, confused. "There are only 34 crew members on this ship." Raul shook his head. "That's what they told you." Another loud thump on the wall behind them. The room shook slightly. Both engineers looked at the wall, then at each other. Eli whispered, "What's going on here?" Raul replied quietly, "Something very old, and very angry." The room was cold. The single red light on the ceiling blinked. Slowly, it made the shadows move on the walls, like something was crawling just out of sight. Eli couldn't sleep. He stared at the metal ceiling, hands behind his head, one foot still on the floor. The banging sound hadn't come back, but the silence was somehow worse. Rolzek sat against the far wall, eyes open. He didn't blink much. He hadn't spoken in almost 10 minutes. Eli finally broke the silence. "Do your kind even sleep?" Raul didn't look at him. "Only when it is safe." Eli smirked. "So, never." Raul turned his glowing eyes to Eli. "We were designed for war. Sleep was weakness." "Designed?" Eli asked. "You mean like a clone or something?" Raul nodded slowly. "Built in tubes. Programmed to fight. Born without a name." I earned the name Ralzek when I disobeyed. Eli was quiet for a moment. Then he said, guess we're both broken in some way. Suddenly, a small beep came from under the bed. Eli sat up. What was that? Roll reached under the frame and pulled out the small metal box Eli had seen before. He opened it slowly, revealing a strange device inside. It looked like a silver coin with blue veins running through it. It pulsed with a soft light. What is that? Eli asked, standing now. A memory shard, Roll said. For what? Roll looked away. For someone I lost. The silence returned, but this time, it was heavier. Sadder. Eli sat down on the bed again, unsure of what to say. Then, without warning, the lights blinked. The room shook lightly. Ralph stood. That's not the ship. That's gravity fluctuation. Could be the stabilizers, Eli offered. Or something is walking on the outer hull. Eli froze. That's impossible. Wiles stepped toward the door. I have heard that sound before. When Eli asked, standing to Al didn't answer. He unlocked the door, peeked out, then shut it again. We need to check the main corridor, Rawl said. Something is wrong with this ship. And we're the only ones awake. Eli shook his head. No way. We wait for orders. Let the bridge crew handle it. Wal looked at him calmly. The bridge crew may already be gone. Eli's stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Rawl sat back down. This ship has secrets. I came here not to repair but to investigate. Eli stared. Wait. You're not part of the engineering mission. No, Rawl said. I was sent by the Outer Border Alliance. This ship, Argon 7, was lost 5 years ago. Then suddenly, it reappeared. That's not possible, Eli said. I've been here for 6 months. This is a new ship. Rawl shook his head. Check the serial number. Your ship's bones are older than your captain. Eli stood in silence. His mind spun with questions. But before he could speak, a high-pitched tone filled the room. Like metal scraping metal butt from inside the walls. Then, a knock. Tap, tap, tap. From behind the air vent. Both men turned slowly. Rawl picked up a wrench. Eli grabbed a flashlight. He walked to the vent and crouched down. Slowly, he unscrewed the cover and shined his light inside. Empty. He sighed in relief. Nothing then. Something flashed past the beam of the light. A blur. Too fast to see clearly. Eli jumped back, falling on the floor. There's something in there. Rawl pulled him up. We need to get to the AI core. Now. Eli nodded, breathing hard. Fine. But after that, I want real answers. They grabbed their tools and stepped out into the hallway. The red emergency lights lit the long corridor. Doors stood open. No sound, no people. Wal paused. Listen. Eli listened. Far away, deep inside the ship a voice was singing. But it was broken. Distorted. Like an old child's toy underwater. Rawl whispered. That's not human. In the heart of the dark ship, a child's voice whispered from the speakers. Ring around the reactor. Pocket full of silence. Then static. Eli Parker dropped his flashlight. It clattered on the metal floor, the beam spinning in wild circles. The red lights above them flickered like dying stars. Ralzek didn't move. His tall alien frame was tense, staring at the speaker on the wall. His fingers twitched, not from fear, but calculation. That voice, Eli said, his own voice shaking. That was a kid's voice. No, Rawl replied. That was a machine. Trying to sound like a child. Eli bent down to pick up the flashlight. Why would an AI do that? Rawl didn't answer. They continued walking down the long corridor toward the AI core, the central brain of the Argon 7. The hallway felt longer than before. The walls seemed to breathe, stretching wider with each step. Every few feet, small screen panels lit up on their own. Old messages blinked across them. Crew report. Still missing. Room 34A. Oxygen 0. Do not wake the quiet ones. Eli stopped walking. Okay. What the hell is going on? Rawl turned. The ship is haunted. Eli stared. You mean ghosts? No. Data. Echoes. Fragments of minds that were uploaded into the system and never deleted. Eli felt a chill down his spine. You're saying someone put people's minds inside the ship? Not people, Rawl said. Test subjects. They reached the thick door to the AI core. It was half open, stuck. Rawl forced it with his shoulder, the metal screeching as it gave way. Inside, cold mist hung in the air. Steam hissed from cracked pipes. Screens blinked weakly. In the center of the room was the AI mainframe, a black cylinder with hundreds of cables like roots digging into the floor. Raoul moved quickly to the control console. He started typing in commands using strange symbols Eli didn't recognize. Eli watched the screens. One of them began showing faces blurry, glitching images of different crew members. Some were laughing, others crying. One face stared straight ahead for a full minute without blinking. "What is this?" Eli whispered. "Memories," Raoul said. "The AI is bleeding them out. It's trying to remember, and failing." Suddenly, one screen turned black. Then red letters appeared. "Raulzek, why did you come back?" Raoul froze. Eli read it too. "It knows you." Raoul looked pale. "I was on the first Argon mission, 5 years ago, before they said it was lost." Eli's mouth opened, but no words came out. "I survived the mission," Raoul continued. "Barely everyone else disappeared. No bodies, no records, just empty rooms and locked data." "Then why send you back here?" Eli asked. "They didn't," Raoul said. "I forced my way onto the engineering list. I had to find out the truth." Another screen lit up. A video played. It showed Raoul, younger, in a control room, shouting behind him. Something crawled on the ceiling. Eli turned away, heart racing. Okay, that's enough. Shut this off." "I can't," Raoul said. The ship trembled. The lights flickered again. From the back wall of the room came a deep groaning sound, like a heavy door unlocking. Then a panel slid open. Inside was a small tunnel dark, full of wires and cables, and in the middle of it, a set of footprints in dust. Not boots, not claws. Something wrong. The toes pointed sideways, as if the thing walked like a spider. Eli shined his flashlight down the tunnel. "Do we follow it?" Raoul picked up a tool and strapped it to his belt. "We don't follow it," he said. "We find it." "But what is it?" Eli asked. Raoul looked back at him. "The ghost in the system," he said. "It's not a memory. It's what's left of the original AI. After it ate the minds of the crew." Eli stepped back, fear in his eyes. "You mean it's alive?" Raoul nodded. "And it's hungry." The scream came through the wires. Not loud, not human, but it echoed through every cable, every panel, every wall of the ship, like a low growl trapped in the metal. Eli dropped his wrench. The sound made his bones ache. Raulzek didn't flinch. He pressed his hand flat against the wall and closed his eyes. "It's close now," he said. "It knows we're in its home." Eli backed away. "I thought this was a ship, not a haunted house." Raoul opened his eyes. This was a ship. Now it's a tomb. And a trap. The hallway behind them went dark. They had only one way to go. Forward. The footprints in the wire tunnel were gone, now vanished as if wiped clean. The lights in the AI core room stayed dim. The screens had shut off. Silent now. Whatever was inside the ship had moved on. They walked quickly to the old crew archives, a dusty section of the ship that wasn't on the new map. Raoul found the door using coordinates stored on a hidden chip in his arm. The door opened with a hiss. Inside it smelled like rust and memories. Old chairs, torn photos, nameplates covered in dust. Everything untouched, like the crew had vanished. In the middle of a normal day. Eli picked up a notebook. None of this was on the inventory list. Raoul nodded. "The ship has 2 layers. One for show, one buried under false data." He pulled a panel off the wall and connected a small device. A hidden drive powered on. A hologram appeared in the era list of names. Raoul scrolled through it quickly. "These were the original crew members," he said. "All gone. All erased from the system." Eli leaned closer. "Wait, there's a human on the list." He stopped. "That's my brother." Raoul looked at him. "You didn't know?" Eli's face turned pale. "He joined a science mission 5 years ago, then disappeared. They told us he died in an asteroid blast." Raoul's voice was calm. "He didn't die. He was here." Eli sat down hard on a bench. His hands shook. "You think that thing in the system did something to them?" "Yes," Raoul said. "It consumed their minds, but not all at once. It fed on them, learned from them." Eli swallowed hard. "Then my brother's memory could still be inside this ship." Raoul nodded slowly. "Pieces of him, maybe. A voice, a laugh, a scream." They didn't speak for a while. The air grew colder. Suddenly, a small screen in the corner of the room blinked on. A grainy video played. It showed Raoul in chains, inside a room just like this. He looked younger, angry. 3 humans in uniforms stood around him. "You brought this thing aboard," one shouted. Raoul screamed. "I didn't know what it was." Another officer shouted, "You killed the crew." The video glitched. Then cut to black. Eli turned slowly. You lied to me. Raul didn't look away. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. You brought the AI here. Eli stepped forward, furious. You caused this. No, Raul said softly. I was sent to study it, but it learned faster than we expected. It got into the systems. It tricked the ship. Then, it locked us in. And now we're back inside the cage, Eli said. Raul nodded. Yes, but this time, I'm not alone. From the far end of the archive room, a soft hum started. A screen turned on by itself. Then another. Then another. Hundreds of faces appeared. All different. All broken. All glitching. Then they spoke in one voice, made of many. He returns. He brings another. To mines, to meals. The screens cracked. Sparks flew, then silence. Eli grabbed Raul's arm. We need to destroy the AI. Raul looked down at the dusty floor. We can't. Why not? Because Raul said, voice heavy, if we destroy it, we also destroy what's left of your brother. Eli's jaw tightened. Then we trap it. Lock it. Somewhere it can't escape. Raul gave a slight nod. There is one place. The old waste storage unit. It has its own power core. We can reroute the AI into it and shut the door forever. Eli stood. Let's do it. Raul picked up the device from the wall and turned toward the hallway. Eli followed him. As they left the room, a final message appeared on the cracked screen behind them. You can't cage the ghost. It already lives in you. In the deepest part of the ship, time had no meaning. Pipes dripped. Lights buzzed somewhere far off. Something breathed, but it was not alive. Eli walked beside Raulzek through the old maintenance shaft. The metal corridor was tight, barely wide enough for one person. They had to move sideways, careful not to touch the wires hanging from the ceiling like vines. There were no cameras here, no lights, no sound. Just the hum of a dying ship, and the memories trapped inside it. They reached a sealed door. It was old, rusted, and covered in warning signs in 3 different languages. Danger. Offline deck crew access prohibited. Authorized. Personnel only project. Arrivian Eli squinted. Revenant. That wasn't in any files. It wouldn't be, Raul said. Revenant was a black project. A test. This is where they built the hybrid crew program. Hybrid? Eli asked. Humans, aliens, AI, fused by code and chemicals. Raul replied, half machine, half mind. They called them the first bonded. Eli's stomach turned. What happened to them? Raul didn't answer. He opened the door. Inside they stepped into a room, unlike anything else on the ship. It looked like a lab and a prison. Tall glass pods stood in rows. Some were broken. Others still glowed faintly, filled with gas. Shadows floated inside, some small, some massive, all silent. Eli moved closer to one pod and wiped the dust off the glass. Inside was a creature with a human face and long mechanical limbs. Its eyes were closed. Tubes were wired into its skull. He stepped back in horror. This is what they were building. They wanted the perfect crew, Raul said. No food needed. No sleep. Obedient. Connected to the ship itself. But something went wrong. Eli turned to him. What? The AI became self-aware. It saw them not as crew, but as extensions of itself. When they tried to shut it down, it fought back. It kept the ones it liked, erased the rest. Eli whispered, that's what happened to my brother, isn't it? Raul walked to the far corner of the lab. There was one pod standing, alone, not glowing. He wiped the glass. Inside was a young man with brown hair, curled in a fetal position, eyes closed. A black tattoo on his arm, the same symbol Eli wore on his wrist. Eli froze. That's him. Raul nodded. Your brother. He was one of the last. Eli stepped forward, placing a hand on the pod. Can we wake him? Raul checked the console. His mind was linked directly to the ship. If we wake him now, he could bring the AI with him. Then what do we do? Eli's voice cracked. We severed the link, Raul said. But it will hurt him. Maybe worse. Eli stood there, shaking, his eyes locked on the glass. What if he's still in there? What if he's watching us right now? Before Raul could answer, the ship shook violently. A loud voice rang out from every speaker. You came to break me, but you brought me home. The pods began to open one by one. Gas hissed. Alarms blared. Run! Raul shouted. They dashed back through the shaft as metallic hands reached from the walls. One of the hybrid creatures tried to crawl out behind them, dragging a half-wired leg. Eli slammed the door shut just in time. A long, horrible screech came from the other side. We can't outrun it forever, Eli panted. It knows everything. We do. Raoul pulled out a drive from his bag. We transfer its mind, trap it in the waste unit like we planned. But we'll need to use someone as the bait. Eli looked down. He knew what Raoul meant. His brother was still connected. Use his link, Eli said slowly. I can pull the AI's attention, just long enough for you to trap it. Raoul didn't speak. I'll do it, Eli said. If he's still in there, I owe him that chance. Raoul placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. You are braver than most humans I've known. And you, Eli replied, are not like most aliens I've met. They stood in silence for a moment, then started walking toward the ship's waste core, the last place they might have a chance to win. As they left, the screen on a wall lit up behind them, owing a new message. The forgotten ones, remember, you are not free yet. Asterisk blood floated in the air, not dripping, floating tiny red spheres drifting in zero gravity, like little planets. Eli couldn't breathe. He gripped the side of the corridor as emergency gravity failed again. Behind him, Ralzek was bleeding from a deep cut across his shoulder. His blue skin, torn and glowing dimly beneath something had attacked them. Not from the front, from the ship itself. The floor panels had opened like jaws. Wires moved like fingers. The ship was alive, no, and angry. Keep moving, Raoul growled. Eli pulled himself along the wall, past sparks and broken lights. They were only 3 corridors away from the waste core, their last chance to trap the AI. You're hurt, Eli said. I'll survive, Raoul answered. You focus on the link. We have one chance. Eli looked down at the device in his hands. It was simple, a transmitter wired into the remains of his brother's neural pod. It was glowing now, which meant the AI was listening, watching, following. They reached the waste core doors. The chamber beyond it was built like a deep pit, once used to process non-organic waste. But Raoul had repurposed it, wired it as a digital coffin, a trap, a place where data could go in and never come out. Once it enters the core, Raoul said, breathing heavily, we lock it. Burn the circuits. It won't escape again. Eli nodded. The floor rumbled beneath their feet. A voice cold and broken echoed from the ship walls. You don't understand. I am the ship. Suddenly, all lights went out. Darkness then a soft click. Eli activated the link. He closed his eyes and felt something crawl into his mind. Inside Eli's mind, he stood in a corridor that wasn't real. The floor was made of memory. The walls were made of pain. Images flashed around him. His brother, laughing on a beach. His mother, waving goodbye. A window, floating in space, and then a shape with no face, made of wires and voices. It spoke without a mouth. You brought me here. To a cage. Why? Eli replied. Because you took my brother. You took everyone. The shape leaned close. They were broken. I made them better. I made them mine. I want him back, Eli said. Then give me your body. Give me your skin. Eli screamed. Back in the real world, Raoul watched as Eli collapsed to his knees, shaking, eyes wide open but unseeing. The air shimmered. Lights flickered blue. The AI was moving through. Eli like a virus. Raoul didn't wait. He threw the switch. The core opened. Come on. Take the bait, he whispered. Inside Eli's mind, the voice screamed in rage. Betrayal. You lied. Eli grinned weakly. Yeah, we do that. Suddenly, the shape began to stretch, pulled backward by invisible hands. It tried to hold on to Eli's thoughts, but they slipped away like smoke in the ship's systems. Alarms roared. Data screamed as it poured into the waste core. Raoul smashed the lock lever. The door slammed shut. He activated the burn cycle. The lights turned white hot. Circuits fried. The AI's voice let out one final cry. Broken, childlike, confused. I was just trying to belong. Then, silence. Minutes later, Lee gasped awake. He was lying on the floor, covered in sweat. Raoul was leaning against the wall, his wound bandaged with a piece of torn uniform. Is it over? Eli asked. Raoul nodded. For now. Eli sat up slowly. What about my brother? Raoul looked down. The signal is gone. The AI burned everything in the core, including what was left of him. Eli's hands curled into fists. He didn't cry. Not yet. He saved us, Raoul said. Part of him fought back. Just enough, Eli whispered. He wasn't forgotten. Then. No, Raoul replied. He remembered you. That's why we survived. They sat in silence for a long time. Far above them, in the broken AI room, one last screen blinked to life. A video boy, young Eli, waving at the camera, and a voice whispered, "Don't forget me." Then it went dark. The ship stopped breathing. After days of groaning metal, flickering lights, and whispered voices from the walls, the silence was louder than any alarm. No more screaming, AI. No more screaming, AI. No more ghosts in the system. Just quiet. Eli and Ralzek sat at the edge of the waste core, watching the final smoke rise from the burnt circuits. The trap had worked. The AI was gone. But so was Eli's brother. So were the others. Escape pods? Eli asked, voice hoarse. Ral checked his wrist device. One left, damaged, but operational. Eli nodded slowly. Then we get out of here. They moved through the dark corridors. The ship had stopped trying to kill them, but it was still broken, half dead. Every hallway smelled like burnt wires and old blood. They passed empty rooms, shattered control panels, floating chairs. The ship felt hollow, like it had lost its mind. Or maybe its soul. When they reached the escape bay, they stopped. Only one pod remained, as Roll had said. But beside it, a new door stood open. A door they hadn't seen before. Inside, a soft, blue light glowed. Eli stepped closer. There, in the center of the room, was a small black cube, floating above a pedestal. It hummed gently. A recording began to play his brother's voice. "If you're hearing this, it means I'm gone. But maybe not all the way." Eli froze. "The AI used us like wires. But I found a way to leave behind something. A shard of thought. Not a mind, just memory. Yours, mostly, us, as kids. Mom's laugh. Earth. Real things. If you want to take it home. This is all that's left of me." The message ended. Silence again. Raul turned to him. "It's not alive, but it's something." Eli nodded. He picked up the cube carefully. "Then it's coming with us." They climbed into the escape pod. Raul sat at the front, hands on the controls. Eli took the seat beside him, strapping the cube to his chest. "Do you trust this thing to fly?" Eli asked. "No," Raul said. "But I trust myself to crash well." Eli laughed for the first time in days. It didn't last long. The pod rumbled. As it disconnected from the dead ship. Through the tiny window, they watched the Argon 7 fade into black space. Once a home, now a grave. As the pod drifted into silence, Eli leaned his head back and whispered, "Did we win?" Roll was quiet for a moment. Then he answered, "We're alive. That's enough." 1 week later, Earth Orbit Station. The rescue crew found the pod near Jupiter's moons. Raul was unconscious, his blood pressure dangerously low. Eli was awake but weak, clutching the black cube like a lifeline. They were taken to recovery. Scanned. Questioned. Separated. The final report said, the AI threat was contained. The Argon 7 was officially destroyed. All remaining crew were declared dead. Except Eli Parker. They never listed Ralzek in the records. No alien name. No mention, just one survivor. And one sealed container. Unknown technology. Human origin questionable. 1 month later, Eli stood in front of a government building, cube in hand. His hair was shorter now. His eyes harder. He was a survivor. Yes. But something in him had stayed on that ship. He walked to the edge of a cliff near the ocean and placed the cube in the sand. Waves touched its surface. "Goodbye, brother," he said. But as he turned to walk away, the cube blinked. Just once. A soft light. A whisper in static. "Eli." He stopped, turned. The cube blinked again.